focused. How's it going, guys? Uh, so, just came back from an anatomy training seminar with Thomas Myers, David Weck, the guy who created rope flow, the guy who created the Bosu ball. It was at his gym, Weck Method, in San Diego, California. And Thomas Myers is the man, as I just mentioned. He wrote this book, Anatomy Trains. Worth it, even if you're not like a trainer or someone who works with people. If you just want to learn more about your body, if you're just someone who wants to learn more about your body, this is an amazing book to get. Just shows how variable movement is something you want to give your body. So obviously, resistance training that maybe focuses on the muscles, but also movement that improves the fluid movement ability of your body. You see there, doing a throw on the right. The right side of the body and the left side of the body. It can be done in a relaxed way. I just did it in a bit of an aggressive way, but it can also be done in a relaxed way. You're just getting that coordination along with some extension and flexion of the spine. The book talks about the different lines of the body, spiral lines, front lines, that are all rotational practices. Throwing, sprinting, running, shows all of that. And it's also why I look at kind of training the way I look at it, you know? I understand that we need to stress our muscles specifically, and it's a good idea to hypertrophy them, make them bigger, but it's also a good idea to improve your body's overall coordinational. Did I just say coordinational? It's important to improve your body's ability to coordinate itself in different ways. Gives you more options. The cool thing that Tom talked about is, I was happy about this. Like, I wrote this blog on movement vocabulary, and I actually made a video about it, about how your body can do so many things, and it's a good idea over time to increase the amount of ways it knows how to coordinate and move. It means you have more answers to movement problems. Here's an example. Actually, this is a really simple example. We love to be efficient. We love to do things in a way that feels easy. So if this drops in front of me, there might be an instinct to hip hinge and pick it up like this. But how many ways can we solve the problem of picking something up that we can make feel comfortable and make feel safe for our bodies? How many ways can I coordinate my body to bend and pick? Coordinate my spine. Of course, there is a simple and safe way that we all learn. Hip hinge, bend here, pick it up. But when you learn how to safely move through all these different ranges, you learn that there aren't really unsafe ways to pick something up. Just ways that your body doesn't trust yet. See what I mean? So if we have practices that force us to think about picking something up in a different way, we can increase the amount of words we have to answer the problem of picking something up. That's why it's important. Because generally, as we get older, we get less options. Because naturally, we'll tend to do the things that feel the easiest. We'll do the patterns, the ranges of motion that have the least amount of friction. And we won't work on the ranges of motion that have friction. So then certain areas, our sensitivity to them or our understanding of them begins to dull. And then over time, we lose those options altogether. And then a trainer tells us that we can't bend like this to pick something up. But it's not because it is actually unsafe. It's because it's unsafe for us because our body doesn't trust it. And if we trained ourselves slowly to trust it, we could get that movement, we could get that word back, that piece of vocabulary that our body used to understand. A piece of vocabulary that my body never understood until now in my 30s is the rings. This is a totally new input for me, and it's building an understanding for myself that I didn't really have. You know, I think a cool thing is that, you know, most people don't really think about doing work on rings or gymnastics later in life because it's something that most people start as kids, or most people that are proficient. And then it just looks so intimidating to begin as an adult that we decide it's not for us. And that's how it is for many things, not just working gymnastics, your gymnastics ability. That's how it is for playing an instrument. That's how it is for trying to learn a new actual language. I've given myself excuse when I was younger. I'm an Ibibio man. An Ibibio man means I'm from the Ibibio tribe of Nigeria. There are many tribes in Nigeria. There's the Yoruba, the Efik, the Igbo. Well, the Efik aren't a tribe. Efik is a language. There's Hausa, Igbo, and I'm Ibibio, and there's more than that too. And our language is Efik. And I've always given myself the excuse, like, oh, you know, at some point my mom stopped speaking it to me as a kid, and I forgot a lot of it, and as an adult, I have given myself excuses as to why it's too difficult to learn. I don't have a lot of people I can speak it with every day. I do have my mom who I can call. But, you know, I used to tell myself that excuse. Come on through, bro. Kane. I'm good, man. How are you? Gonna go out to the park over there? Yeah. Oh yeah, just shoot a video. But dude, is he do you go to a gated park or is he just off leash in a park? Off leash in a park. He has good recall? Yeah. Man, I'm jealous. Good. I'll see you guys there. Also, I hope this doesn't sound horrible. My mic is in the back of this hat. And I would wear a mic on my necklace, but then it moves around a lot. So, we are stuck with the hat. You know, identity is something that's weird, or the identity you give yourself is such an interesting phenomenon and has such an interesting effect on how we move through the world. Like, for example, for a really, really long time after I injured myself in college and I couldn't play soccer anymore because of a foot surgery. Okay, because of a foot surgery. Okay, I had a foot I had a foot surgery in college. I played D1 at Sac State, and then because of the cleats, were so narrow, they impacted my foot, where I had to get a bunny net surgery. I couldn't walk for 7 months, and I was cut from the team because that was affecting everything. Affected my knees, affected a lot of things. So from there, I started focusing on lifting, and I went from someone who ran every day, sprinted, jumped every day aggressively for long periods of time, to someone who didn't like running and someone who didn't sprint. And as I got older, as I reached more into my 20s, even when I was doing jiu-jitsu, I told myself that running wasn't for me, that I had bad knees, and it really affected the movement decisions I made. I met my buddy Ben Patrick. Ben Patrick, knees over toes guy. Started doing some of his stuff, which I have baked those concepts into my own programs. Then my knee pain went away. Then I was able to start jumping again. Then I was able to start sprinting again. I don't know if you guys saw the video that we did with Z treads. Where we did some sprinting and some sprinting on the treadmill. But I recently started running again, not doing just sprinting, but doing some running. I actually came back from a run before I came here and started practicing movement here. And I always gave myself the excuse of, oh, I'm too heavy to run. I did that a lot when I was 215, 220 and played soccer, but at this weight, I'm too heavy to run, and it's gonna make me slower. It's not. I found all these reasons just not to do it. But, you know, I've even regressed my running. And now running feels good. I'm not running super fast. I'm running at a decent speed for me. But I get done with it, I don't feel beat. My body can come do something else. It doesn't crush me. I can do other movements along with running. And I've become enamored with the staff. Such an interesting tool. A lot of similar rotations and movements as the rope, but a lot that are also different because the staff is a totally different tool. So it allows for rotational patterns and patterns that I just can't do. Well, not that I can't do, but when I do those patterns, they have a different input on my body than the rope. Whew. Okay. Found my hat. All right, if you guys want to skip forward, you can totally skip forward. It's a raw movement session, but I'm going to mess with the staff for a bit right now. And I'm not going to be talking much, so I can kind of just focus in on the movement. So if you want to skip forward to the next timestamp, go for it, but there's going to be a lot of silence right now because I'm having a lot of fun. Okay. Oh, interesting. Ooh, okay. How do I go from... Okay. Oh, what? No. Required to stop. How do I go from here? No, that wouldn't be it. Neck. 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 Yeah. Huh. Like, to be perfectly honest, pistol squat. Oh, something. Ooh. I need to regress. I have so much meat here and so much meat in general. 250 pounds, that movement is quite difficult for me. So I need to even regress that. Maybe instead of going so low, I come to an isometric where I feel like, okay, I'll lose this, hold this position, come up. That's my regression. I can leverage this here. I could even hold on to this here. Come down, come up. Allowing myself to go into that range, take enough weight out, and allow myself to go down. Using this as a bit of a regression to get in and out of the position with a level of trust. So you're going to hear me use this word trust a lot. When I use the word trust, I mean that you trust that movement and range of motion, but also your nervous system trusts that movement and that range of motion. Remember, in our video where we talked about soft training versus hard training, and the parasympathetic versus the sympathetic nervous system. We talked about how the sympathetic is your fight, flight, and as Mark Kerr mentioned on our podcast that we recently just did with him, fight, flight, and you know what I mean? Flight, fight, okay, you get it. And the parasympathetic nervous system is rest and digest. And for me these days with jiu-jitsu, a lot of my jiu-jitsu is fairly parasympathetic. I'm very calm. I feel calm. One might think, how can you be parasympathetic while doing jiu-jitsu? You're fighting, right? Well, when you do something for a long period of time, it might be a sympathetic activity, but you can do it in a parasympathetic way where it doesn't stress you out as much as it would somebody new. Somebody new to jiu-jitsu who hasn't done it, hasn't practiced it much. All these movements are new. They don't have answers. It's a very stressful and sympathetic activity, but after you've done it for a while, a lot of it can be fairly parasympathetic, and it might be more sympathetic when you have much harder rolls. You know what I mean? Or when you roll with more challenging people, okay? So, basketball, when you first begin, the sport might feel fairly sympathetic because you're doing all this jumping and running up and down the court. But when you've played it for a long time, jog back, you're doing things that you make look so easy, right? But it's stressful for others. And that's how a lot of your training can be. Like when I'm doing some of these movements, like when I'm doing that regress pistol squat, I'm trying to find a place where it can be more parasympathetic. So when I'm doing it with nothing, my heel came off the ground, but it's harder. And I have these points of like a little bit of breath holding and struggle because my body doesn't trust every range of motion. This was the knee I believe I had surgery in, but no, actually, which knee did I have surgery in? I don't know which knee I had surgery in. But if I regress the movement, take a little bit of weight out, and then I venture back into it. You can become more parasympathetic. And on my right knee, I have to regress the pistol squat much more than my left knee. Actually, my left knee, I kind of did it without crazy issue, but my right knee, there's a lot more work that needs to be done on that side. And for it to be parasympathetic, I really have to regress that pistol. Can you maybe take one off after I become a bit comfortable? Right? So I get repetitions in that can give my body the input without stressing me out too much so I can come back and attack it tomorrow. But maybe when I attack it tomorrow, I add a little bit more difficulty. See what I'm saying? Then all of your movement becomes enjoyable. I'm not saying you shouldn't do hard things or make movement hard for yourself, but find a regression that you can do and you can progress rather than going for the hardest thing and it feeling relatively impossible. Okay, what do I want to do now?
My goal here is to keep my hips extended. I don't want to let my hips sag. Keep them extended. Switch. If I wanted to, I could go into a sissy squat type and extend. A lot of ways to adventure with movement, with resistance on rings and bars. I'm trying to teach my body new ways of moving. I'm trying to teach my body new patterns. New patterns of movement, new patterns of strength, new areas where it can find calm strength, so I have more access. So I have more options. This is the thing to remember. The first language we learn to speak is with a, hopefully, not every child has this, but language of movement as babies. Okay, the language of movement. With our mothers or our fathers or a guardian figure, touching us, picking us up. Thomas Myers gave the example of a father whose daughter rolled over, and the father helped the daughter learn to roll on both sides. Because, you know, as a baby, when you're on the ground and you're bending or you're tilting your head to look at things and then you roll over, even as a baby, you might have a side that you feel like rolling over is easier, so you'll favor that side. And Thomas mentioned how this father would help the daughter find movement on both sides of the body. So the father helped the daughter move on the right and to the left. And guess what? Funnily enough, that little girl ended up to become ambidextrous because the father taught the girl to access movement using both sides of her body. So the question then becomes, is ambidexterity purely genetic, or is it a trait and something that can be trained, that can be learned? I mean, in rope flow, I just showed you that movement where I'm doing a throw pattern and I'm throwing on my right side. I've also taught myself, even though I'm not left-handed, to throw on the left side. Now I have deficits on the left side of my body with certain things. That's why even when juggling, I teach myself to do the movement with the right and the left so that my left side can gain the intelligence and hopefully one day catch up to the right side of my body. This can, I mean, think about it too. Now, it's not like I'm practicing writing with my left hand, but it would probably be a great idea for me to practice writing with my left hand. And I could probably get better at that. And then maybe in like 3, 4, 5 years, I could be someone who could write with that side of my body. And I wouldn't be beautiful. But it would be better. I think that's a cool thing. It's a very, very cool thing, because as I've learned more movement practices and learned and seen, like I've seen from learning rope flow, how I now have more movement options in jiu-jitsu. I choose to do more things on my non-dominant side because I have a practice that trained my movement ability on that non-dominant side. And one can just say, well, then in jiu-jitsu, just practice the movement on the opposite side. And you have a point, of course. But there are just certain things and certain types of movement that you might not get much of in jiu-jitsu. Like, for example, juggling a ball with the hands or with the feet. This is something anyone can practice. You can develop the ability of your right side and your left side. Now, even with my feet, definitely with my feet, I have a side that my body favors. I have a foot, that is my right foot. Then I can force myself to do more things and juggle more with my left foot. Making a deliberate effort to use my left. Okay. Oh, I need to shift weight in this stance. Oh, see, this is the way the staff works is interesting because I'm not just trying to swing with my hands. I'm trying to use the weight shift of my body to make aspects of this movement easier. I'm trying to go with the momentum of the staff somewhat, and also use my legs and arms Oof. Okay. Oh, this is so nice. Oh. Still gotta respect it. If you didn't catch that, I hit my nose. Started going too fast. So there's a pace I need to go at so I can continue to learn this without hurting myself and being too stupid. Initially it starts slow. And I can slowly speed up. As I become more comfortable with it. One thing I think about when I spin the staff, by the way, is over time I want control of the implement, but I also think of treating it like a weapon. Because it is a weapon. So when I'm swinging it, how would I strike somebody with it? How would I wield it? Now, that gives it intent because it's no longer just tricks, but it's also a tool that now has the intent that it was made for. Not that you can't just swing a staff around. I mean, people do poi. Like, look at poi artists and fire spinners. But that's something about it. There's all this this is interesting. Only with the PVC. Very interesting. Ho, 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 ho. This is really fun. The staff is really fun. Definitely need to go this way for this. Probably lower too, but
Oh my goodness. That is a range I would not have discovered in the gym. That's it for today. So what we did, juggling, some calisthenics, some rope flow, some staff flow. I want to invite you to build your practice. Learn new languages of movement. And choose the languages that interest you. It could be acrobatics, it could be dance. One area I need to work on a lot, just different aspects, just hand balancing, putting more weight in that part of my body. I suck at it. And I like showing when I suck at things. You know, as I talk about jujitsu, go back on my YouTube channel like 10 years ago. Look at a 165-pound black belt kick my ass. Watch a purple belt who's 165 pounds also beat me up when I'm 255, 260-pound white belt. Right? And now jiu-jitsu feels easy, but it took 10 years. And don't get me wrong, I have challenge. I'm not the best grappler in the world. That's not what I'm saying. But it's not challenging most of the time now. Or it's not challenging in a scary way. There's still so much I don't know. I want to make this clear, because for people that don't know jiu-jitsu, you might hear me talking about it and I might be sounding like I'm saying I'm some master. Nah, there's so much I don't know in the art. And that's also one of the things that makes jiu-jitsu such a fulfilling practice. Because I go in and Casio teaches me something I haven't seen or haven't thought about. And it just shows how there's so many levels of knowledge in this practice. And even when you've done a lot, and even when it gets to a place where it doesn't feel hard all the time, there is still more to learn, as there is more to learn with your own body and your own movement. So don't settle. Don't put a limit on yourself for what you can learn. Don't give yourself that identity of the person who can't run, the person who can't sprint, the person who can't jump, the clumsy one. People may have labeled that you, and you may believe that for yourself, but understand that you can work on all these capacities. You can do things, so you're no longer the clumsy one. You're no longer the person with back pain. You're just a person who's continually improving. I was talking to my buddy Mark today, because Mark is jumping, he's running, he's doing depth drops, he's doing all these things. And he's gonna be turning 50 soon. But we realized, like, dude, you know you're moving better than you did when you were in your 30s, right? Like, you're getting older and you have more ability of your body than when you were 10 years younger, 12 years younger. And it's like, yes, aging is a thing, but when it comes to your movement ability, there is a level of control you have over that aging process by increasing your vocabulary, by learning new words, and by learning new movement. All the equipment is available at the Stronger Human store. Come join the Stronger Human School community for movement challenges and giveaways. We run challenges in there where you can win different pieces of equipment to improve your movement practice. I'll see you in the Stronger Human. Appreciate you all. Let's keep it moving.